Okay, I think we are live on air. I am joined by Rory San Miguel. Hi there, Rory, all the way from Sydney in Australia. So you've just got into the office and it's late at night for me.
G'day, Gary. Thanks for having me today.
It's only a pleasure, Rory. So, Rory, yesterday was a big day for you guys, still today for me, but a big day for you guys. You launched your Aeropoints. And as far as I can tell, it's a bit of foam with a solar panel stuck onto it. Why on earth do I want one? What good can it do me?
Great question. At Propeller, we've been processing lots of sort of survey data sets over the last few years. And the one thing that kept coming back to bite us was actually that the industrial customers that we were then servicing this data with would come back and say, how accurate is the information? And because we were so far removed from the flight, we couldn't necessarily determine the flight path or the overlap settings or the height, whatever it was that the operator was using. We couldn't comfortably answer that question, and we knew that we needed a solution that was separate from the drone or from the cameras, because I think both the drone and the cameras are being updated so quickly right now that you don't necessarily want to have to rethink your ground control or your accuracy every time you upgrade one of those things. But we needed a solution that would help all of our customers capture very accurate data, and in fact help us with our own data processing as well. And it was a Tuesday morning, and myself and my co-founder were going to throw a frisbee out in the oval, and I kind of had the brainwave, what if we put the little crosshair on this frisbee and stood in the middle of the site and frisbeed them out? It quickly evolved into having the GPS tucked into the frisbee. That actually then became a prototype. We realized that they were sitting out in the sun for their entire duration of usage, so we put the solar panel on them and a big lithium battery. We wrapped them in foam and went through probably 10 different iterations to arrive at what we've got now. So really rugged, weatherproof. We're getting precision down, or we're getting accuracy rather, down to less than 2 centimeters or less than 1 inch for the Imperial system. To be honest, we're actually getting accuracy that's so good, we're coming up again, right up against what survey grade GNSS data is telling us is being accurate. Like, it's a little bit of like he said, she said. We're potentially more accurate just because we've got so much time out there collecting all this information and then doing some pretty neat processing in our back end. So from our perspective, it's just this super simple, neat solution with whether it's your Phantom 4 or your Inspire or your EB, whatever it is, you're able to just toss these things out, fly over it, and that the data you're going to be getting is right on point, which is pretty exciting.
How do you know it's going to be right on point? How is that frisbee communicating with the rest of the world? Are we taking an SD card and download? How does it work?
Okay, so the maps, these Aeropoints are totally sealed. There's the GPS unit inside, a Wi-Fi chip, battery, and a solar panel. The way it works is there's a single button, and you press that button and it will start soaking up information from the GPS satellites.
Haven't you got one there you can show me? Here's one you prepared earlier.
This is exactly right. This is what they look like. So as Gary said, we've got the solar panel here, and then there's just a single button, right? And if we press the single button, it'll go into a logging mode from both GPS and GLONASS satellites. It'll sit there for as long as the survey is. So we're looking for at least half an hour of data, and that's what we really need to make accurate information. So there is a sort of minimum amount of time you need to have these out in the sun for. But yeah, half an hour later, you can pick up all of the Aeropoints, press the same button again, and it'll actually go into a flashing mode, and it's looking for a Wi-Fi network right now. The Wi-Fi network it's looking for is predefined to look for the SSID of Propeller and the password of Propeller. So on your Android phone, for example, you can just turn on a hotspot with those credentials, and the Aeropoints will connect and upload all of their information to Propeller all at once. So there is a supporting app, but in terms of actually getting information off the Aeropoints, all you need is a hotspot that looks like Propeller, and they'll connect and upload. So it's a really hands-off process for the user. Once that's happened, we'll have all the Aeropoint information on our servers. We'll then pull in local correction data, so cause data, and I want to talk about our coverage zones in a minute. we'll pull in local sort of RTK correction data, generate a PDF report that gives the user where these points were, the accuracies in any sort of, if they want to if they want to translate it into different coordinate reference systems, that's where all that information is, including variance on each measure, and then a CSV block that can get pasted straight into Pixel or Agisoft. And so, yeah, hopefully like a really neat way of getting that information back.
So you can marry up the data from these points with software other than your own photo processing service. I was going to ask that, how does it marry it up with your photo services? I'm not quite sure. So I've checked these out. I know where they were very accurately. How does the system know? How does the images and these ground control points tie themselves together?
So all the ground control points actually sit there just soaking up GPS information while they're out in the field. They're actually not communicating with each other or the drone or the operator while they're in a recording state. So they're all standalone. You can use any combination of any of them. They all do exactly the same thing. And then it's all, once we get the information back at Propeller, that we turn those into precision logs. Now, your point about whether we're using Agisoft or Pixel or Propeller, of course, we would love everybody to use Propeller. And there is a bit of a bonus where if you use Propeller to do your photo processing and upload all of those individual photos that have, in fact, these Aeropoints sort of scattered throughout them, we identify these now automatically in our system, and we'll generate all those survey grade outputs for you, and they'll be available in the Propeller interface. But we do know that online processing isn't for everybody. We do have people that want to do orthophoto mapping of facades, or we have people that want to do very detailed point clouds of cell towers, and those things do tend to sit better in a desktop processing package, and that's why we want to make the points available to those users as well.
Okay, and what sort of cost are we talking about for these sort of things?
So we're selling them for $6,000 for a set of 12.
Is that Australian dollars or US dollars?
US dollars, sorry, US dollars. So $6,000 gets you 12 with all the standard sort of 12-month warranties. They'll run for 2 weeks straight without needing to see any sun, so they've got plenty of life in them. Then it's just a few hours in the sun to give them another week of energy. They are totally waterproof and weatherproof, and we've run over them with cars and trucks and really tried to give them a bit of a workout as if they were on a mine or a quarry where we're planning on getting them used. And they sort of hold up the test of time. So we're pretty excited about the durability. We think that the price point is really attractive because it's something that the operators can own. It's something that doesn't need to be replaced, as often as a drone or a camera. And in fact, you can keep replacing those things without affecting the precision of any of the information you're getting.
And so I've paid my $6,000. I've got my, I think you said 12 points then. So what are you going to charge me for that little all that rectified information? Is there a fee for that?
Yeah, so Propeller's got an online sort of subscription model, like a few of the other cloud processing solutions out there. You pay a monthly fee to host a certain number of data sets. So, 3 is the free plan, 20 is the next plan, 50, and so on. And these are data sets that are sort of, we're calling comprised of, up to 1,000 photos in any one single survey. So that's what we call a data set. And then there is a processing charge when you then upload photos. So it's either $50 for just the coarse geotags or $125 for the Aeropoints to get processed through.
Okay, so that would be $125 US per job to get the Aeropoints processed.
That's right. It is worth knowing as well that all the dollars that you spend on the hosting, you get that in equal credit in processing. So the people on the $500 a month plan with Propeller, they host more than 50 data sets with us, and they get 4 surveys per month with ground control points included in that as well. So we're trying to sort of bundle it into a single price. Okay,
and again, what's the advantage for me rather than just using an RTK stick and running around and setting up points all over the place? What's the big advantage for me?
Sure. So there's a few big advantages. Number one is, to be honest, in my experience, having done this many times myself, is I often ran out of spray paint. I often lost carpet tiles. simple things that you don't want to have to deal with on the way to a job are extremely frustrating. The second big advantage is that we've designed these to actually sit on the passenger seat in your truck, and you can toss them, almost out of the window. If you're moving around slowly on a site, you can actually press the button and toss these out, and they'll sit there and start logging. So we really are trying to make it as fast as possible to set these out and deploy them. And I think the other thing that you're getting back is a really guaranteed. There's two other things. You're getting guaranteed accuracies. So with RTK sticks, for example, at the bottom of a mining pit, you often have cellular dropouts. Now, that's a hard thing to deal with on a site because you need that real-time connection to the rover to keep the RTK-based feed sort of accurate. And with the Aeropoints, we're just sitting there sort of soaking up GPS information, and we do all that correction data back at the office. So that's one fantastic element. And the other one is for those that are for the commercial service providers that are putting through, tens of jobs per week. Time is so precious that sitting there manually finding points in Agisoft and Pix4D, we think is just an outdated concept. It doesn't make sense still in 2016 to have to sit there and do such a repetitive process that, to be honest, computers have automated everything else about what we're all working on. Why would we, spend so much time sitting there manually, finding these points? And so using the Propeller suite actually takes care of that for you as well. So it really is trying to become a one-stop, really accurate solution for commercial, drone teams around the world.
Okay. Now, it's been a big month, really, for you at Propeller Aero, because the other thing that happened for you back at the beginning of the month was you announced a link-up, join-up, I don't have words for it at the moment, with DJI. You and DJI are best friends now. Maybe you could run us through that quickly.
Sure. So it was actually a few months ago in the DJI headquarters in China that we were talking through the concept of these Aeropoints and some of the things that our online platform are doing, some of the industries that we're working with, and some of the really amazing things our early customers were figuring out, with drone data and with Propeller. And I think we sat there and realized that what we can offer now is a solution that marries the cheap, super reliable, really easy to use DJI hardware with very accurate, but also very easy to use, very reliable, really reasonably priced Aeropoints. Put that together with the Propeller platform and really deliver this one-stop solution for these sort of dirt-related industries, as we colloquially refer to them at Propeller. So for us, it's a fantastic opportunity to get our hardware, which I think sort of conforms to the DJI concept around making what's really technical and hard and expensive, bringing that right down to the to be useful and accessible to all the rest of the non-technical audience. We're trying to do the same thing with very accurate GPS information. So it really is turning very very expensive $25,000 Leica Trimble and Topcon positional data and making that dead simple and cheap for everybody else. The idea with DJI is now to put all those three things together and deliver a bundle like that's purchasable online or through traditional sort of GPS distributors that offers an M100 with dual battery setup for extra flight time, a set of 12 Aeropoints, and a year of Propeller. That's really all you need. And so we're really excited that will be coming out in the next few weeks.
Okay.
But
cool.
But we're already getting from some of our people have been asking and there's a lot of excitement around that bundle.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
That must have been a huge deal for you when they inked that one.
Yeah, I mean it's massive, and to be honest, I've got so much respect for the guys at DJI. They're a big company now. They're selling a lot of drones and worth a lot of money, but they're still very much they've got the essence of a very fast-moving, smaller startup style business. Been fantastic to work with. So yeah, looking forward to what we can do together there. The other thing that's worth knowing is that with this potential deregulation, we want to make sure that we don't have just this flurry of rubbish data coming through. We all know about the cowboy sort of surveyor style characters out there, and we think that if we can sell something equally as cheap and easy, but that fixes the accuracy problem, we're gonna not have these horrible interactions with enterprise customers that really need accurate data and they expect accurate data, but what they get is pretty but imprecise data. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's basically all. I'm very aware that's all I can produce with the platform because I'm not a surveyor and I don't have the skill set. So that leads me around to saying, how have you landed in this space? Have you come from the drone world, or are you a surveyor? What's the background of the company?
Yeah, good question. So I'm actually a mechatronics engineer. My co-founder is a software engineer. We started off with the software platform to help process people's data. We really did automate that first. But it was talking with our earliest customers where we realized that accuracy was a bigger concern than accessibility, especially as the industry was so new. So I think one of the big challenges for us was that these bigger enterprises are less interested in the brand new technology. What they're interested in is something that can really replace and make easier and cheaper their existing workflows. And so it was, an iterative process there where we kind of went a full circle around from like pretty but inaccurate information, coming back around to like, how do we make this information as accurate as possible? And now on the team, we've got surveyors and geospatial experts that both, QA people's data as it's coming through the platform. So every data set that runs through Propeller is actually checked off by one of our expert geospatial guys. But yeah, we spend a lot of time sort of thinking about coordinate reference systems and transforming accurately between datums and, using the 7-parameter transform in the UK, whatever it is. I think if you ask any of our customers, they'll have definitely heard from us if they've sent through some, inaccurate data or some data that doesn't quite line up. We'll be on it like a hawk. So the team is split now between sort of the automation side, and that's all the software and the Aeropoints, and then the survey and processing side and making sure that we're delivering accurate information. You
might not, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. It might be a bit proprietary for you, but I've noticed, because I've used your service and I really like it. And of course, I've noticed there was a real life human involved at one end of it, which amazed me. How do you think that's scalable, or are you learning as you go what the general mistakes are, and then you will push that generally into the automation?
Sure. So both, but it's exactly both things you just said. We're definitely, you'd be surprised at how much is automated, and it's extremely scalable. The things that stand out as issues, they're patterns that we've seen endlessly. So there's only so many ways you can kind of, screw up a drone data set, and we've got those things categorized pretty neatly. And for things that, in fact, are looking quite good and come with, proper ground control points and a coordinate reference system that we know, that stuff is a much quicker process. So we're definitely sort of soaking up all of the new challenges that working with a wider audience brings us, different edge cases, flying in snow, whatever it is, like the most unusual things, we see them. But for the majority of the work we do, I mean, we're pumping through far more data than you'd imagine at the moment. Yeah.
And then, all right, then again, you probably don't have to answer this, but then how many rooms full of computers have you got at the minute?
Good question. We borrow the services, the kind people at Amazon to actually crunch all the numbers. So we do some things here, but it's mostly all in a big data center.
Yeah. It's amazing how, because all of, anyone like me with a Phantom or something like that, we do think we're instant experts and we know everything about surveying now. And really what people are doing is trying to get a pretty picture out to the client, the end user. So you said you went pretty picture, you've gone to accuracy. So it sounds like you're nailing accuracy. What are you doing about pretty picture then? That's got to come back into the equation again, hasn't it? Or let's not say pretty picture, let's say actionable data.
Yeah, I think that's where the actual online platform of Propeller steps in. So to be honest, if you were to slide all the way to the accuracy end of the spectrum, people are taking our DXF tin files, pumping them straight into Serpac or Vulkan, their technical mine planning software, and building their block diagrams and their mine plans off that data. So it's literally 3D mesh information. There's not an orthophoto inside. It's just vectored 3D data. So that's all the way at the accuracy end, and I suppose all the way at the pretty end is the people often actually it's the same people or different people in the same organization that use the Propeller interface. And from our perspective, that's a much more intuitive, user-friendly interface that shows both the prettiness and the detail in one shot. But they're using the Propeller interface as their medium of interacting with the data on a daily basis. So we're getting people that are installing screens in their site offices just to run Propeller every day, so that the whole team can stand around and understand what's happening on site or what happened yesterday. And that, I think, that's never been available to these sites before. It's just unfeasible for them to expect an Autodesk license at 20 grand or Civil 3D at 20 grand, and then having to download the gigabytes of terrain data and orthophoto data to make it available the next day. We think that bringing both the 2D and the 3D information in one view, making it really simple and kind of a pretty interface, is critical to getting the non-technical users addicted to drone data, and that's where the big market opportunity is for us.
And how do I present this to somebody? Do I just share a link with them, and in what sort of formats does it work?
Yeah, good question. The way the data gets shared around is typically, once it's been processed, the person that uploaded all the information, there's a share button in the interface, hit share, type in some email addresses, and that'll ping out to all of them. It's important to know Propeller doesn't cap users. We're in this explosive stage of the drone industry, and we want as many people touching this as possible, seeing it, understanding it. So definitely don't hold back on sharing. And it is also worth knowing that we've got a really interactive online help section, both where you can talk to us at the team, or you can seek your own answers at the knowledge base. And there are specific examples in our knowledge base section of where quarries, mines, landfills, construction and infrastructure, telco towers, all the different sort of industries, really trying to tailor content for those users. So we do know that it's a daunting sort of prospect, putting a quarry manager or an everyday sort of blokey character in front of a online geospatial platform like Propeller. So we do try and make that as smooth a landing as possible with a pretty interactive online help section, which actually pops out on first login by default.
So we share a link and then it appears in the browser wherever they are.
Yeah, that's right. So they get an email address. Sorry, they get an email with a link to click through. You put it and then name, shot into the project. While we're working on Propeller, some interesting things like being able to send someone into a view that you were just looking at. So really having that mirroring people's screens remotely, so that people can be collaborating properly on the information. Things of that nature to really bring together teams. I think almost our favorite opportunities are with both amazing drone service providers that are capturing multiple sites for a single organization, or in fact the organizations themselves who have multiple sites, say around or the Americas, whatever it is. And now the head office has an opportunity to understand what the latest of each site looks like in a single interface. And that as a communication tool, speaking to those site managers, there's now a way to have a real sort of transaction record or a record of truth that that takes a lot of the subjectiveness out of this, what's traditionally present in these dirt-related industries.
So to finish up then, we should probably recap on price, because that's what people want to do. Your biggest number is $500 a month for a subscription for 500 data sets, and then that allows you. Yeah, you go through it.
Yeah, so the pricing, what I recommend to anyone watching, you can jump on and get started for free, and it's not a trial plan, it's actually a bit of a starter plan, and you can upload 3 full data sets onto Propeller and have those in a white labeled version of your brand, like a branded version of the software. And Gary, you might want to show your SUS News version if you'd like to the audience.
Up a browser window. I have got one. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
What was I going to say about that?
So this.
Go on, carry on.
The starter plan is really designed as that portfolio tool for service providers who want to have some of their own data in a branded interface. Probably add a link to their website that says portal login or customer login, whatever it is. And really have the opportunity to turn up at a site when pitching for a job and say, this is how you're going to get the information. and it's, you know, in my brand, and these are the tools, and this is what we expect to be interesting with the data. So that's how the starter plan works. And then once you graduate past the 3 data sets, you actually tick on into our cheapest plan, the $50 a month. That's soon to be increased. So get in there while you can, everybody. The $50 plan gives you 20 data sets, and then obviously just $50 of processing credit to use towards putting data online. It is worth knowing that Propeller doesn't. We also allow you to upload already processed data from this, software like Agisoft or Pix4D. So if you were to take your orthophoto and DSM TIFF information that you've processed and generated, you can upload that to Propeller and have that available in the interface for all of your customers in the same way. And that we actually don't charge you for. That just counts as a data set. So yeah, you can upload both the source photos, or you can upload, there we go.
Yeah.
So that's the default version. Gary, I think if you could go into your branded version if you like, but
well, really,
yeah, I mean, that's the interface.
But yeah, it's the interface.
That's the interface.
Sorry.
That's right.
Yeah, no, I think it's very cool. It's all very cool, and it's interesting that that you're not restricting the number of people it can be shared with. That I think is quite a powerful thing for businesses. Where do you see it going then? Where are you going to be in 5 years' time? DJI is going to have made you a multimillionaire.
I mean, like, where do I see the business going? What I actually want to be doing is that for every single time a drone gets used for work-related purposes, that the Propeller is the default choice to manipulate, understand, process, archive, whatever it is, all of the information. So becoming just the global standard for both accurate data, and that's, I think, where the Aeropoints step in, and for visualization and analysis of the information. Probably we're going to get to the point where the drones are going to upload. I mean, very soon we're going to get to the point where we're uploading directly from the field straight into Propeller and making, hoping to clean up all of the rough edges along the way to getting a successful drone survey. But there's a pretty bright future, I think, where we're just amazed that the industries and the enterprise customers that keep coming to us saying, we've got this burning hot desire to use drones for this. Is your software designed for this? Can you help us do this? And it's not always a yes, but we try pretty hard to build the product in a way that it becomes a yes. And those we have no cap on what we see the opportunity for drones being. We think being the data platform enabling both drone service providers today and enabling really easy data in the future is a critical piece that we're working on solving. Hopefully, better.
Well, it's here we go. I found the one you wanted me to show now. Where is it? There it is. Let's share this one. That's what you meant by branded.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Yeah.
You got your own portal.
That's very cool. It's all very, very cool.
Yeah, great.
I'm going to stop sending that. Well, thanks very much for chatting to me. I'm sure as soon as I hang up on this hangout, I will think about 1,000 other questions. And maybe if anyone has got any questions, this video will pop up on our YouTube channel. They can add the questions in there, and maybe you could be so good as to answer them. That would be fantastic. All the best. I'm looking forward to hearing all about your link up with DJI. I think that's going to be amazing, and no doubt other companies that come out of the woodwork. And I look forward to following you with great enthusiasm. So, Rory, thanks very much.
Gary, thanks. There's a few big things coming in the next few months as well, so stay tuned.
Beautiful. Well, we'll definitely jump on the blower and speak to you about those when they arrive. So have a great working day there. I'm going to bed here. Cheers for now.
Good night. Cheers.
Good night.